our Thursday evening Parent Academy webinar session. Happy New Year. I am Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Alachua County Public Schools, and I welcome you this evening. It is so nice to be back. And so tonight we have our guest speaker, Miss Vivian Graham from Santa Fe College, that is going to be joining us and telling us about all things Santa Fe. And just before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping elements. If you would please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. We will be monitoring your questions using the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your webinar window. Please note that all Parent Academy webinars are closed captioned and recorded for us to post to our website for anyone that could not join us live tonight, or that you just need to review it at a later date. If you have any personal conversations that you need to have with me, please feel free to email me at parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and we will get to those questions. And if I can't answer them for you, I'll definitely get you put over to the person that can. And so without further ado, I do see a hand raised. So if you want to just type your question into that Q&A feature down at the bottom of your webinar window, or you can send me an email, and I'll check it as we're here. As we're here live, I will check my email just in case you need to send me a message. And that was parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and I'll make sure that I get to that question this evening. And so without further ado, Miss Vivian, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Miss Tina, for inviting me to share information with your parents and your students and families here. And so I am specifically going to be talking to you about high school dual enrollment program at Santa Fe College. Our next application process is going to be getting open here in just a few more weeks, and so sharing information about this particular program, which for a lot of students and families might be a good option. I've got a PowerPoint I'll be going through, and so as you might have questions pop up, you can throw them into that Q&A, but you may find that we'll get to a slide just a few slides in advance that then answers that question. But kind of towards the end, we can then certainly be trying to address whatever remaining questions are sitting out there. And I'll also be sharing contact information for the high school dual enrollment office here, for if we have further questions and help that we could be assisting with, that you'll know how to be reaching out to us. So I'm going to get started with things here. Dr. Jen Homard is our Executive Director of Secondary Programs with Santa Fe College, and so she is who is over the high school dual enrollment program, but she's also over a couple of other programs here with Santa Fe. We are actually into our 51st year of high school dual enrollment with Santa Fe College. And Santa Fe College has been serving students in this program in Alachua and Bradford counties for over 50 years, which is hard to believe. Students can participate in academic programs, fine arts programs, career and technical programs. We have part-time and full-time options available. And in 2023-2024, the students that were participating in our program that year saved over $2 million in tuition and textbook fees, because students in this program, you're not paying tuition for the college classes, and textbooks are loaned to you. You're not paying for those textbooks. And so, again, saved over $2 million for the courses students took back in that 23-24 school year, and had 66 seniors who earned either AA or AS degrees and or certificates before they were even graduating from high school. So that's pretty incredible. Now, any of the college classes that you're taking with us, that is starting that official college transcript, the official college GPA, Certainly, everybody wants things to be going well for students that are participating in these courses, so that you start building a quality college transcript. But the dual piece of things is that these college courses also earn high school credit. And so a student wouldn't be sitting at their high school taking a high school English class and also taking a college English class. That's kind of duplication of things. But whatever they do here at the college and those college courses, earning college credit, but also are going to be earning high school credit on their high school transcript and moving them forward with high school graduation requirements. The college courses get calculated into the high school GPA, and those college courses are weighted the same by colleges and universities as they're evaluating students for admission, as an AP course, an IB course, an ACE Cambridge course. That colleges and universities kind of do their own GPA calculation, but they view college dual enrollment courses at that same level as those most rigorous IB, Cambridge, AP courses. Those are weighted a little bit higher than high school honors courses, which do get some weight, but they're not considered the most rigorous option that a student could take. For students that are gonna participate in dual enrollment, and regardless of what campus with Santa Fe that they would be attending, because we do have multiple campuses, do understand there's no transportation that's provided. You've got to have your transportation figured out. Alachua County Public School students, there's not a school bus that's going to run you here to one of Santa Fe's campuses. We do have a large number of students who might make use of the RTS system here in Gainesville. Santa Fe ID card gives you access to the RTS bus system for free. Santa Fe and UF students get to ride RTS for free. Good news is that parking on campus is free. Students don't have to pay to park, or parents, if they're dropping students off and waiting to pick them up and stuff, there's no parking fee that you have to pay. But you do need to have a plan for transportation figured out. And sometimes for students who may, transportation may not really be readily available, or just flexibility for around other things they have going on, Santa Fe does offer a lot of courses that are online, so you don't have to come to campus, and that can be a way for students to be able to navigate that transportation situation. Please do understand that our school calendar is not the same as public school calendar, as the PK calendar. Many of the private schools and stuff in this area may have slightly different calendars. And even though your student is still a high school student, they are going to be following the college's calendar for whatever classes that they are taking with Santa Fe. For the past couple of years, our spring breaks have been at the same time, so that has been terrific. But typically our starting and ending dates for the semester are going to be slightly different. A random teacher work day with the school system is not a teacher work day here at Santa Fe. Students would still be expected to be attending classes. And then the other kind of probably biggest difference I can think of off the top of my head that's different with those calendars is that our Thanksgiving break, Santa Fe currently is off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of Thanksgiving week. I think a lot of the area schools are closed the entire week of Thanksgiving, but Santa Fe currently is closed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So all things to be aware of, because you are navigating different calendars. Communication and thus with dual enrollment, because students not at their high school where they get morning announcements, or there's loudspeakers that they can put announcements out to the whole school and say, hey, bus 458 is going to be late today, or anything. The communication from us is really going to be primarily through the high school dual enrollment Canvas announcement page. I know most students and families in this area probably are pretty familiar with Canvas. Alachua County Public Schools utilizes Canvas. I know PK utilizes Canvas, and I think some of the area private schools also utilize Canvas. But Santa Fe has been using Canvas for years, and so The high school dual enrollment Canvas announcement page is the main way we are communicating and sharing information with students, and then they can go back and reference, say, hey, I think I saw something a couple of weeks ago about this, and those announcements stay out there that they can go back and reference. And then we also utilize Santa Fe email. Students that come into our program will ultimately have an official Santa Fe email account, and that is also a means of communication with students. And so it really is very, very important that the student that comes into our program is regularly checking our Canvas announcement page and their Santa Fe email, or they really will miss out on important information, which is unfortunate, but that is going to be our primary way of sharing and communicating information with students. As far as parents go, those parents with Alachua County Schools, and I think possibly with PK as well, with having Skyward, that you might have access to students' grades on Skyward, kind of through parent portals and stuff. For college courses, parents are not going to have direct access to be able to view grades. And dual enrollment advisors, which I'm one of the dual enrollment advisors here with Santa Fe, I don't have access to be able to look at a student's grade in a college class as it's going on. So, that's something that kind of parents have to get used to, that you don't necessarily have ready access to that. Certainly you can ask your student to kind of pull up their grades on Canvas and kind of see how things are going. But if there's any questions, about where a student may be with grades, perhaps you've come home early one day and your student's sitting there on the couch and going, oh yeah, no, class got canceled today. If you want to be checking in on any of that, you contact us in the dual enrollment office, your student's assigned advisor, and we kind of can then reach out to instructors and ask, was that class canceled, or can you give us an update on how things are going with grades? But you're not going to have that ready access that you might be used to with your student in a K through 12 situation. And that's because with colleges, access to grades, information is all governed by what's called FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. That's something that's a little bit different than K-12 stuff. And so again, parents just don't automatically have immediate access to be able to gain this information. But our program and advisors and director kind of serve as your liaison for then trying to follow up on things if you have questions. Students in our program absolutely can still qualify for all the scholarships that could be out there in financial aid programs, including Bright Futures. And, certainly Bright Futures is the largest scholarship program the state of Florida runs. Not the only scholarship and grant program the state has, but it's kind of what most people hear about. But our courses and all of that can still be moving students forward to meeting those criteria. And we had a link here to Bright Futures website where you can read through, access the handbook and be able to read all about the Bright Futures Scholarship Program, as well as all of Florida financial aid programs. Now, a lot of families and students may not be aware that we do teach high school classes here on the main campus of Santa Fe, because, traditionally students coming into the dual enrollment program, they may not be ready to, or may not want to just jump into a full college course load. They may feel comfortable. Hey, I think I'm ready and I'm eligible to be taking a college English class, but maybe science is not a strong subject for me, but I still need science to graduate from high school. How am I going to be able to take care of that if I want to be a full-time dual enrollment student that I don't want to be at my high school? How might I be able to manage that? Well, we do teach kind of those core high school graduation academic classes that are typically taught in 11th and 12th grade. We do have high school course options for those here on the college campus. So we really can accommodate those students who really want to be full-time with us, maybe not have to be at their high school, but maybe aren't confident in going into a full college course load. And our high school instructors are very committed to our student success. The majority of them have been here with our program for quite some time. They really help students kind of gain that independence and self advocacy to be comfortable and successful as they then move into more college classes. Our high school faculty do typically teach also some college courses in those subject matters, so they know exactly what students need to have to be successful, say from moving from a high school English up to a college composition class. And if those students are ready to go, they're being successful, that teacher will say, you are ready to move on into that college English class. But there may be some students that's like, says you're struggling a little bit. I think you need to work a little bit more on your foundation, and that may be a student that continues in that high school class from one semester to another. But our high school faculty do a great job really making sure that students are ready and they're being successful and help them transition to moving into that college subject area. Lot of student resources that are available to students that are all free of charge. First and foremost, that instructor for that class, whether it's the college class or whether it's one of our high school classes, all those instructors do have office hours that they're sitting in their office each week waiting for students to come in, ask questions, get some extra help. And so connecting with instructors, always a really good plan for students. But say that instructor, when they're available in their office, is the same time as students in another class, or that they're in an extracurricular activity at their high school or something, then they might be taking advantage of our free tutoring resources that are available both in person as well as online. We have a lot of hours of availability starting pretty early in the morning. We have afternoon and evening hours. We have weekend hours. It's not 24 hours a day, but it is a lot of hours each week. And everything that we have available in person, there's also an option that a student could access that tutoring online. And so if they're at home in the evening working on some math homework and they've got some questions, they don't necessarily have to try to come back to campus to meet with somebody to get some extra help, that they'll be able to access help while at home through that online tutoring. The whole tutoring resources is referred to as the Learning Commons here with the college. And so the Learning Commons also provides academic success coaching. They provide a lot of workshops on different topics, test anxiety, test taking tips, how to create an educational portfolio, all kinds of things. Those are all things that are available for free. Santa Fe, we also have a counseling and wellness center that students can take advantage of. For students in our program, there is a permission slip that has to be signed by parent and student to be able to access counseling services, but that is something that is available. Have various computer labs across campus that students can utilize, a great library, all types of resources there, including a lot of study room areas that students can reserve to maybe be, working with a group of students in the class to help be studying for a big test or working on a project together. And then DRC, that stands for Disability Resource Center, and that's the department with Santa Fe colleges that works with students who have any type of accommodation needs. Students that may have accommodations in place at their high school, that doesn't just automatically put in place at a college or a university. There is a process to go through. You have to connect with that office, provide documentation of showing what your accommodation needs are and such, and then they will meet with you and talk with you about what accommodations could be put in place for use in college classes. But DRC is Santa Fe's department that works with students with that, and so certainly we have a lot of students that are connected with DRC. Again, kind of Learning Commons, all those tutoring resources, academic success coaching, that kind of thing. We have a career exploration center here on campus that students can take advantage of. And they really, even for non-Santa Fe students, our career exploration student center will work with people in the community. You don't have to be a current Santa Fe student to work with them, but they can help with career exploration, selecting a major. They help students with scholarship searches, searching for employment, resume writing, job interviewing skills. great resource for our community. Santa Fe has an honors program, and high school dual enrollment students can take advantage of our honors program. Students involved in the honors program would be in classes that are going to be a smaller class size. They typically are going to be with stronger faculty in that particular subject matter. Get to, because it's a smaller class size, and that faculty, they kind of do a lot more kind of hands-on activities. They'll do networking with different places in the community and other areas to kind of, for students in that subject area, to really expand what they're getting exposed to. There are some specific scholarship opportunities specific to the honors program, and there also are a number of agreements for moving on to universities, and that those students can move directly into one of those universities' honors program if they have completed the requirements to actually graduate from Santa Fe's honors program. But our high school dual enrollment students can take advantage of this program. Now, there certainly are differences between college classes and high school classes, and just the setting that students may be used to with their high schools. And that is something that you need to be aware of and make sure that this seems to be a good fit for your student, that our program is going to be a good fit for them to be successful. Most college classes meet 2 days a week. At the high schools, most of the area high schools, your classes meet 5 days a week. So that's something that you have to get used to. A college course typically is not going to have as much just weekly work that would be due, worksheets, homework assignments, vocabulary list, an outline to turn in on a chapter or something. Most of the time, college instructors are not assigning that type of work. Now, should a student do that so that they can really be prepared for that class and making those outlines, working on vocabulary and stuff, but there may not be things that are assigned for grades, that students are kind of creating maybe their own homework. But college classes, you may find that there's only 2 or 3, 4 big grades during a semester. So for some students, they're like, ugh, that's awesome. I don't have all this weekly stuff that half the time I forget about. I get too busy, and it's like, I hate all that busy work. And, just having just a few grades during the semester that create that final grade works well for them. Other students, sometimes, there are those of us that may not be the strongest test takers on like a big test. And so that grade may not be as strong, and but we work really hard. We're doing that homework. We're getting all our assignments turned in on time. And so we get our maximum points with that. And that can help bring up that lower test grade or that lower big essay grade. But for a college class, you may not have as much of that other stuff to help bring up those major grades, if that makes sense. So something to be aware of. And then attendance policies. Attendance policies can vary from class to class. Instructors have the freedom to be setting their own attendance policies. Some will be very strict about attendance. And if you think about it, if a class is only meeting 2 days a week and you miss 10 days during the semester, you've missed like 5 weeks of the class. And so you could see how, I could understand how attendance might be kind of tight for a particular, maybe they're only looking, 5 days to be missed, 6 days. And college instructors don't really mess with excused or unexcused absences, which is something that you are used to in the school system. That, doctors know, parent notes you're out sick, on a sports team, and hey, we're traveling, and so I'm missing my afternoon classes, and that's just a school related activity. That's not excused here with college classes. So that's something for you to be aware of. And attendance policies, grading policies are going to be on that class syllabus. Really important for students to read through and know what's going to be required for each class so that they can be successful and that class suits their needs. What is a typical day for a dual enrollment student? Well, there really isn't a typical day. And that's kind of what I hear from students oftentimes is one of the appeals of coming into our program is we do have a lot of flexibility with what that day and week might look like for a student. Again, thinking back to that, a college class may only be meeting 2 days a week. So a lot of our students may be taking 4 or 5 classes with us, but they may only be here on a given day. They may only have 2 classes or maybe 3 classes. We currently do not have many classes that meet on Fridays, and students really hate to hear that they have a 3-day weekend every week. But if you're just going to have 2 or 3 classes a day and say you're not a morning person, you're not necessarily having to report to your high school by 8:30 or 8:45. You may start classes 11, 12 and still be getting out by mid-afternoon. But there's some students it's like, hey, I want to get started as soon as I can, get done as soon as I can, because then I've got more freedom in my afternoons. Maybe that allows to work a little bit more or to have some study time and homework time before then going into like a sports after school and stuff. And so they might start with us at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30, and they're done by late morning. And then they have that freedom more in the afternoon. There can be students that maybe only come to us a couple of days a week. They may have pretty busy days in classes on those days because maybe all their classes meet those 2 days a week. But, so a lot of flexibility with that scheduling to try to help students and families' individual needs. And that is one big appeal for our program. Again, I had mentioned that online classes, those can be an option. I kind of put in bold 2 days a week because, again, the majority of college classes are meeting 2 days a week. Just to share, our high school classes that I mentioned, that we do offer high school classes, they do meet 4 days a week. They are meeting Monday through Thursday. But we can build that schedule to try to work around extracurricular, sports, jobs, other commitments, or for part-time students to work around what classes they still have at their high school, to then schedule your classes at different times that aren't conflicting with those high school classes. High school dual enrollment students can get involved in our student organizations. Currently, we have 49 active clubs, and just listed a smattering of what those possibilities could be on the screen. We also have some competitive academic teams. And we do have some volunteer opportunities. A lot of times students may be trying to accumulate some community service hours for Bright Futures purposes, but also just like to volunteer and provide service. And so we do have a number of opportunities here directly with the college that students can be served volunteering their time. Now, love UF or hate UF. I will share that a lot of students come to Santa Fe, whether dual enrollment program or just come here as a college student, with a long-term goal of perhaps getting into the University of Florida. UF does accept more Santa Fe students than from any other Florida college, across the state, because we're considered sister institutions. We have the university here and we have Santa Fe College here. And so a lot of students that are at UF did come through Santa Fe. And Santa Fe actually has an advising center here on campus, that there are UF advisors here every week that students can meet with directly. If they have a goal of trying to get to UF, that they're going to have actual access to a UF advisor here periodically here on Santa Fe's campus, instead of having to try to get over to UF to be able to meet with somebody to get some guidance about long-term plans and best approach to try to get into UF. We do have some guaranteed admission agreements set up between colleges within the state of Florida, and you also see here University of the Virgin Islands. But yeah, certain degree paths You still have to meet specific requirements, but if you're meeting those requirements for that particular degree path, that you would be guaranteed admission into that particular program with that particular school. So, what are the characteristics of a successful dual enrollment student? It's a student that's pretty self motivated. They are mature. There's not bells ringing telling you it's time to move from one class to another class. There's not teachers standing outside their classroom door kind of shooing students on. Make sure, get on to class now and stuff. You've got to know that schedule and get to where you're supposed to be on time. There's nobody there that's going to be reminding. And again, there's not bells that are ringing. There's no little flag by a dual enrollment student's name on that class roster that then tells that college instructor, oh, this is a high school student sitting in the class. So they expect a certain level of maturity and responsibility because they really treat our students as any other college student there. Regular attendance, regardless of wherever you're in school, being in classes regularly are going to help a student be successful. And then being a student that's willing and able and takes that step outside of their comfort zone to communicate with instructors, with their dual enrollment advisor. If you're having problems with something, if something, your access code to an online textbook doesn't work, well, tell somebody. Don't just sit out there and say, well, I guess I'll just try to do my best in figuring out how to do some of the stuff, but I can't access all the stuff. They can't just sit out there and just say, well, that's it. Communicate with your professors, communicate with your dual enrollment advisor, use all those resources that are available to you consistently, and getting involved with things here at Santa Fe. The students that are successful here are, very often those are students that also get involved in some clubs and activities here. So, jumpstart your future. I think that's kind of been dual enrollment's little slogan for the 50 plus years that we have been in existence. Let's start talking about applications because, as I mentioned at the beginning, applications for fall 2026 are going to be opening up soon. This is what our website looks like. If you just go to Santa Fe's website, sfcollege.edu, and type in high school dual enrollment, this is the page that comes up. And you will find a link for an application on that page. And here is kind of our fall 2026 application information. Opening up February 2nd is when our office will start processing any applications that are getting completed. We do ultimately fill up, and it's more of just we don't have room in classes to be able to create a full schedule, and or we just don't have enough staff to be able to serve all of our students. So getting an application turned in and processed sooner rather than later would be wise. Not waiting until the summer to be turning an application in. You could still turn one in, but it's highly unlikely by that point in time that there would be any space for you. But best practice would be to have your application submitted and all testing done by no later than March 31st. So again, opening up February 2nd, March 31st, best practice to kind of guarantee that we would still have space available for that student. After March 31st, we'll still be looking at applications that come in, but it may start getting tight as to whether we could actually accept a student who might be otherwise look like a great fit for our program. It's an online application. Ultimately at the end, and it tells you to do this, print it out. We need original signatures from student and from parent, and then you turn that application into the dual enrollment office, and our mailing address is there. Students can drop it off. It can be faxed over. It can be scanned and emailed to us, however you want to get it to us. There is an essay that's part of the application. A little essay prompt will come up there. And a lot of times students will stress about that essay. And they're like, hey, I need to get my English teacher to review it. And I want somebody else to take a look at it and stuff. We are not grading or evaluating that essay. It is just to give us some information. Why might you be interested in dual enrollment? If you have an idea about a career path, share that with us. If you have no idea what you want to be doing, that's fine. And just say, I'm really totally undecided. Students might share, hey, I'm involved in football, or I'm in volleyball, or I'm working here, or I'm doing, taking care of younger siblings in the afternoon. And so flexibility with scheduling is great. Share those reasons for dual enrollment, things you're involved in, things you're interested in. It just helps advisors, as we actually would meet with you if you come into our program, to know more how to talk to you about what a good schedule might be, because we already have some information about you. Once you've turned an application into our office will send out permission to do our placement testing, because that is a huge piece of completing an application and determining eligibility to come into our program. Santa Fe has their own placement testing. It's called the PERT, post-secondary educational something something's what PERT stands for, but it's going to test students in reading, English grammar skills, and math. And that permission slip they send out tells students where they can come to test. The test is free. You get your results immediately. It's not something you have to wait weeks and months to get results back. And then you just turn those results into our office. Now, if a student has already taken an ACT, an SAT, the CLT, we can use those scores for placement purposes and for completing your application. So then just send those scores in with your application. But if you haven't taken one of those tests, that's great and fine. You can take the PERT with Santa Fe. There's no cost to it. And we have testing available 7 days a week. And so very, very easy process for students to be able to get their test, that placement testing done. But an application is not complete, and it will not be reviewed by our director if we don't have some test results. So again, applications open February 1st. Application and testing completed by March 31st would be best practice to make sure that you're in that first group of students that gets looked at, and that you would not take a chance of maybe us just not having space available for you. What is reviewed on that application? We are looking at high school unweighted GPA. We are looking at what courses have been completed, what are currently in progress. Big deal with us is that students are on track with credits. We are not a place for students who got behind for one reason or another, whether it was poor performance in a class, or, had something medically going on and they just, had a semester they just really didn't complete credits or something. You need to be on track for credits. We're not a place for trying to get a whole bunch of extra credit. Need to have at least one college level placement score in that reading, English, grammar, or math area. Some schools, PK, I believe, Miss Tina, I believe PK requires 2 college level placement scores for a student to come into dual enrollment. But Alachua County Public Schools, it's at least 1 college level score. And if you are a student that, which really is kind of specifically, if you're a 10th grade student looking to apply to come to us in 11th grade, you've got to have passed by the end of 10th grade that mandatory standardized testing that's required for high school graduation. So, the state of Florida has kind of changed tests over the years and stuff, but currently I think it's the FAST test, which is kind of assessing ability and capability in reading and English grammar. And then on the math area, students have to have passed the Algebra 1 EOC. Now, if you're a 9th grade student, because 9th graders are eligible for dual enrollment, not full-time dual enrollment, but they could do part-time. 9th grade is not the year you have to pass this mandatory standardized testing. It really is the 10th grade year. But if a 10th grader was applying and they don't end up passing that mandatory testing, unfortunately, they would not be eligible to start with us in 11th grade. But certainly we'd encourage to look at reapplying for 12th grade, and hopefully by that time they would have passed that mandatory testing requirements for high school graduation. So I kind of have gotten to the end. I know I've been talking a whole bunch, but I'm going to leave this last slide up here because this has the dual enrollment email address as well as our office phone number. And so ultimately, we're going to, take some time here to try to answer questions that you may have on some things that I didn't talk about that that you really do want to know more about. But again, if we don't end up hitting what it is that you have, or you've just got some more real specific individual questions about your own particular situation, or if you just is like, I don't really understand where to access that application or whatever, any help with anything, any questions, always free to be reaching out to our office via email or by giving us a call. All right, Miss Tina.
All right, so we'll go to our Q&A section. And so if you have questions, please put them there. We see quite a few. So we'll start with the first one, and then what is the lowest grade students can receive
Get back to
with dual enrollment to pass and continue the program?
so we want students to be successful in our program. And students that aren't successful, number one, could be endangering whether they're going to graduate from high school on time. And number two, if they're not doing well in some college classes, you're kind of starting to create a not particularly quality college transcript, which is not a great idea for you. We ideally want to see students have at least a 2.5 GPA in college classes, and to be continuing in our program. Now that could be, that 2.5, it could be an A in a class, but it could be a D in something else, and stuff. So and then there are some particular schools, because your schools are also a piece of this about what they feel like is good for students for coming into dual enrollment. There are some schools that they don't care whether you had a 2.5, they're going to make that you have a C or better in everything to be staying here. But ideally, really ideally, we want everybody to be maintaining at least a 3.0 to continue here. But sometimes, we know there can be just a bad fit with the particular class and stuff and stuff. But generally we really are looking for at least a 2.5 to continue in our program. But again, you don't want to get in a situation where all of a sudden you failed some classes and now you're not going to graduate from high school on time, and or that you're creating a poor quality college transcript, which may then limit some options for you as you look ahead in the future.
And then, yes, you can receive the recording. We will have a little bit of time to make sure that we edit it and all of that good stuff. And then it will be uploaded to the Parent Academy's webinar webpage. So you can access that straight from Alachua County Public Schools page and look up Parent Academy. And then you'll find the link there. But if you email me at parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, I will get it sent over to you as soon as the video comes back to me.
Okay. So I think I was seeing, are there advantages for students that complete the program to transfer to UF, or any issues with classes credits being accepted by the university? So this is regardless UF or any other college or university. Students, I guess not sure on completing the program. Students come to dual enrollment, they may only come for a year. Some students, again, could start with us even in ninth grade and be with us with 4 years. There's completing the program is just that you have graduated from high school. And for any student that has just graduated from high school and they're applying to colleges and universities, UF, other schools, you are still doing freshman applications. You're not doing a transfer application, which the wording in this question was asking about transfer to UF. you're doing freshman applications. Colleges and universities want those students that are just coming out of high school, that are going to be the youngest students on their campuses, to have access to the most resources that they have available. And that's all tied into the freshman application. Freshman applications also tie into the most scholarship opportunities with that particular institution. Now, academically, they will see, will see a student as not a freshman. Academically, they'll be working with the student up here. But coming out of high school, you're still doing freshman applications. And this would be the same for a student coming out of an IB program, Cambridge program, a student that has just taken and passed a whole bunch of AP classes. And so universities are used to students coming in with lots of college credit out of high school. But you're still doing the freshman applications. Now, a transfer, that is once you have become a college student at Santa Fe. If you say you come into dual enrollment, you're here for a couple of semesters, but then you continue here at Santa Fe, and then you would be applying as a transfer student, whether to UF or somewhere else. But every institution has looks at things as far as what credits they will transfer in individually. I mean, UF can do something different than UCF and could be doing something different than University of Maryland. So each individual school can look at things and what they will transfer in. Sometimes it depends on what degree you're seeking with them. If you're going into an English major, they're going to be very interested in those English courses that you've done and transferring those in. But, if you happen to also have taken a bunch of science classes, they'll transfer in what science you need just to finish an English degree, but they may not transfer in every science course and credit that you earned. That actually becomes kind of excess credit. Which sometimes can become a bit of an issue with financial aid and such. Financial aid programs aren't paying for students to have earned 200 college credit hours when a 4-year college degree only requires 129 hours or something. So anyway, I mean, there's a lot of things that it just depends on the institution, but I wanted to clear up kind of that transfer word. A transfer application is something that's done if a student has continued at Santa Fe as a college student and is moving on. Students that are in our program and they're applying it to get into universities and colleges right out of high school, you're always going to be doing that freshman application. The testing for that, when our application opens up, students don't have to have taken the test before the application. That is our PERT testing. Again, when we get the application, our office sends out their permission slip to do the PERT testing with Santa Fe. But if a student already has taken an ACT or SAT, send those scores in with the application, then our office will look at it. And if there's any other further PERT testing that's needed, they'll send out that permission slip. But you're not doing the PERT testing ahead of time. That gets generated once you've actually submitted an application. Then I'm seeing the question about the high school instruction. Is that done through the Santa Fe Academy of Science and Technology? No, it is not. Our high school, dual enrollment high school classes are different and separate than the Santa Fe Academy of Science and Technology, which is a magnet school that's just started their 3rd year here with Santa Fe. But no, different faculty. It is a different program. Let's see, is there a class that the student wants to take at the high school? Can they do that and dual enroll? Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a lot of students that still have a class or classes at their high school. Students that are in magnet programs, vast majority of them want to stay in that magnet program. You kind of made a commitment to that magnet program when you started there. And so yes, they can be taking that magnet class at their high school and then maybe be having the rest of their classes here with Santa Fe. Or there may be students who may still want several classes at their high school magnet program. Maybe they're in band, maybe they have they have an AP teacher they've really wanted to have and they want to keep that particular subject. They may have 3 or 4 classes at their high school. That would then be a student with us. But if they want to just have one class at their high school, maybe magnet or like band or something, a specific something, that student would still kind of be a full-time student with us, but we can accommodate that they still would have one class at their high school, but it could be multiple classes at their high school. Um, Students, again, that placement testing. Yes, college placement tests, that is the PERT, that will give you a permission to take the PERT once we get the application, or that a student, if they have taken an ACT, an CLT, or the SAT, which are those other university admission exams, college placement tests, if they've taken those and they have the results, send those in with the application. We can use those for placement purposes. But yes, cannot dual enroll without any type of placement, college level placement testing. Is it true that students who do dual enrollment their senior year lose some of their high school senior experience? And so, yes, if the high school senior experience, in my opinion, kind of is tied in that you're like at your high school all day. I mean, something may happen at 10 o'clock in the morning that's kind of, something with seniors. And if you're not in class there at 10 o'clock in the morning, then you kind of missed out on that. But you've got to figure out what's most important to you. It is absolutely a different environment over here. It is not like the high school environment. And if you can only get your senior year of high school, I mean, you can only do that during your senior year. I mean, Santa Fe or any other college and university, we're always going to be here. And it is a different experience. But students who still want to kind of keep their foot at their high school have some of that senior experience. Those may very well be students that are part-time with us, that they still keep 2 or 3 classes at their high school to still be on that campus every day, kind of feeling like they're getting that senior experience, but also have the option of being able to be on a college campus, having an opportunity to earn college credit for the work they're doing in that class for the semester, rather than relying on perhaps a standardized test like an AP test at the end of the year, that if you don't score high enough on it, you spent all year working really hard in that class and maybe doing very well, but you didn't get any college credit out of it. Those students that want that senior year experience may very well keep some classes at their high school, or again, they may decide dual enrollment's just not going to be for them at all, that they really want to be at their high school the whole time for senior year. Possible to be full-time at Santa Fe and do one period? Yes. At their high school? Yes. If they've got one class at the high school, really would still be full-time with us. But if you're going to have several classes at your high school, then we'd be talking about a part-time. But we have part-time and full-time dual enrollment. You can choose either one of those options. How's the student's entry level in a given subject determined? Do they necessarily have to start in a high school level class and then switch to college if deemed? It really is that placement testing. It is the placement testing that is determining whether a student is eligible for a college class in that particular subject area. But we also do look at the grades in that subject area on that high school transcript. If a student has placement scores that would allow them to take a college English class, but we look at the high school transcript and they've been making D's, a C, in their high school English classes, we're not putting them immediately into college English for that very first semester. But also, if a student has made straight A's in every English class that they ever took, if they did not have a college level reading and English grammar placement score, they're not eligible to do the college class. But our high school classes, we really do register them semester by semester. A college class, I don't think this is anything that I mentioned, a college class only lasts a semester. So, I mean, it starts in August, it's over with in December. Come January, really is a new semester, could have entirely different classes, different instructors. Our high school classes, we do register them semester by semester. So if a student is not eligible to be going into a college English class, again, as an example, in August when they start with us, but well, they can retake placement testing kind of midway through the fall, or or again work on, maybe it was their grades. They had the placement testing, but their grades hadn't been good in previous English classes. Um, that they still can move into that college level class for the second semester if they're eligible, raise that grade, have that placement testing. But and then we'll have students, we've had a number of students that say they started off in college US history this fall, and they're like, whoo, that was enough of that, and they're jumping back into our high school US history for the second semester to finish up their US history requirement. Do students need to apply for financial aid? Students still qualify for Bright Futures. The financial aid applications and stuff, those are done during senior year. You don't do any type of financial aid application to come into dual enrollment. That is a high school program. Financial aid is for students who are officially college students. So you'll be working on those applications during senior year. But there's no type of application for financial aid or scholarships that is part of coming into dual enrollment, or that would be used for dual enrollment, because you're not paying for anything anyway. Your tuition is covered and your books are going to be loaned to you. My daughter's taking dual enrollment classes through Santa Fe Academy. Are those students eligible for the honors program? Yes, to my knowledge, those would be. I'm kind of assuming your daughter may be somebody that's in 9th or 10th grade at the academy. If so, I think they would be, but contact Dr. Homard about that. If your daughter's an academy student but now is in 11th grade, they now are officially dual enrollment, and absolutely they are eligible for the honors program. We do not accept the PSAT. It is, as far as for those placement exams, ACT, SAT, CLT, or Santa Fe's PERT test. Unfortunately, we don't use the PSAT. Can you just print the scores from College Board of SAT? Yes, you can just print them out and attach it to your application. Is there a baseline score on the PERT in order for a student to qualify? I think, as I mentioned, students have to have at least one college level score on some type of placement testing. And so again, we're looking with the reading, the English grammar, and the math, have to have at least one college level ready score on that to be eligible to come into our program. AP US History and AP Human Geography, does that count for a college level placement score? No, it does not. It really is. It is these exams that I keep mentioning. Santa Fe's PERT, which we will give the permission slip for taking this free test when we get the application from a student, or if a student has taken an ACT, CLT, SAT, provide those results to us. We can use those for placement. The AP results are not actual college level placement testing results for eligibility to enroll in our program. What grade can a student be in to enroll? Well, this program's called High School Dual Enrollment, but state of Florida actually has it that students as early as 6th grade can be in a dual enrollment program. And so there's different requirements for students who may be that young looking at coming in here, can only be part-time, don't have a full-time option. And for a student that is younger than going into 11th grade, to be able to come into the program, they have to have all college level placement scores, have to be college level placement, reading, English, and math, to be a younger student and coming into our program. But it actually is available for 6th grade and up. Student that desires to dual enroll only for spring 2027, is that possible? And if so, when should they apply? So occasionally we do bring in students just for spring semester. That is the off time to be starting. Vast majority, 98% of our students start in the fall. But I did just hear, beginning of this week, as we came back to work, our directors say, I don't know that next year we're going to bring in any new students in the spring. So I hate to tell you right now, absolutely, yes, you can apply for spring 2027 only and come in. I don't know whether that's going to be something that's going to remain on the table or not. Um, in the past, for students that are applying for the spring semester, that at our application, our office will look at handling applications beginning of October. So it would be October of 2026. So I would recommend, if you have an interest in spring 2027, contacting our office in early September and asking whether that really is going to be an option for students. If I start dual enrollment program, is it recommended that I finish my AA before transferring on to another university? It's entirely up to what suits your particular needs and interests and stuff. Students are different, and what their long-term goals are different. You know, is, for example, tuition here with Santa Fe as part of 2-year degree programs, which is what that AA degree is, or if you were going to Tallahassee College in Tallahassee and having a 2-year AA degree, or Valencia down around Daytona and stuff. Anyway, tuition as part of AA degrees for college students is less than what tuition is for universities. And so it could be more economical for students perhaps to finish an AA degree before moving on to that university. And for some students and families, that could be very helpful. For other students, maybe it wouldn't be a big deal. And so it's like, oh, we can handle the higher tuition rate at a university. And so, that's not a consideration. There is also, once you start a university, they really aren't interested in students being with them 5 years, 6 years, 7 years to finish a 4-year bachelor degree. They are very interested in getting you in and getting you out. And if you are a student who really doesn't have a real clear idea of what your career path is and what degree you actually want to pursue, perhaps staying at Santa Fe or another college to kind of still complete that AA degree, we kind of gives you more flexibility to kind of be checking this out, checking that out. Because as you move into that university, first year coming in as a freshman, they'll let you change a major, but they aren't letting you move around and flex around a whole lot. And I'm going to take classes here in anthropology, and I'm going to take engineering classes, and I'm going to take a bunch of business classes because I like all of those things and I don't know what I want to do, and I'll figure it out in a year or two. The universities, that's not the place to do that. And so again, then continuing Santa Fe, that might suit those needs better. Son's in Cambridge program and senior next year, would he be able to participate, and what would it look like? Can he do online classes? Yes, we do have Cambridge students that will come to us. They are going to be a part-time student because there's going to be classes they have to keep, a few classes at, I'm assuming probably Gainesville High School, as here in Alachua County is our Cambridge school. But there's going to be classes you have to take there with GHS, and so probably would be a part-time student with us. And yes, students in Cambridge can do that. Oftentimes those online classes is what would work well for a student that's part-time, because it gives total flexibility around what that schedule ends up being at the high school. And the high schools usually can't tell you what your schedule is going to be until like late July, early August. And students coming into our program for fall, you're going to be able to start registering with us as early as May. And so, if part-time and a student online platform could work well for them, that can be a really good option for students who still want to have several classes at their high school, to have that flexibility around whatever the high school schedule ends up being. Is there a length requirement for the essay? Nope. Just tell us why you're interested in dual enrollment. Some students write a couple of sentences, other students write 5 pages. Up to you. We're not grading it. Incoming for an incoming 10th grader applying, it would be part-time. Only students that are eligible for full-time are rising 11th and 12th grade students. So if it's a rising 10th grader that would be applying, they'd be doing a part-time application. What is the college level placement score test? Is it safe to assume all current juniors have taken the test? No, not safe to assume all current juniors have taken the test. That would, again, it's an ACT, CLT, or SAT. I believe Alachua County Public School students typically in spring of 11th grade. The school system has administered the ACT for free during the school day one time. There's like no makeup days if you're absent or whatever, but that could be an opportunity. I think oftentimes PK may give the SAT in the spring for 11th grade students, but this is something, check with your high school about if they're going to be administering any of these tests for free at the high school, just automatically that your student be able to take. But otherwise, these tests are given on national test dates. Those tend to be on Saturdays, and you have to register ahead of time. You pay a fee to take that test. There are fee waivers for students who may meet eligibility to have a fee waiver. That would be something to talk with your high school about. Or again, Santa Fe's PERT testing, we will give you permission to do that when you submit an application. If there's no other placement score, we'll send that permission slip out to the student, and Santa Fe's placement test is free. But no, can't assume that a student's going to have done one of these college placement tests. Jumped in late. What's the deadline for application? Well, we don't have a deadline for application. State of Florida does not allow us to have a deadline, but do we reach capacity? Absolutely. And so what I had shared was that best practice would be applications open February 2nd, to have an application submitted and have that college placement testing done, whether you take our PERT or you've been able to provide us with an ACT, CLT, or SAT test, to have that done by March 31st. That would guarantee that if you're eligible and you're accepted in the program, that we actually have room to bring you in the program. We cannot guarantee that if turning in stuff after March 31st, we absolutely will still be taking stuff in and applications, and we'll look at things. But for the past several years, we pretty much have been at capacity by students who have done everything by the end of March. And those students that do everything by the end of March, you're going to hear from us the earliest. You're going to be able to have the earliest registration appointment with your advisor, which is much to your advantage as well. FAST score in the ELA is a 2, as the student student is in 10th grade but passed the Algebra 1 EOC. So great that they passed the Algebra 1 EOC. That is needed, so that's a box that's checked off. 10th grade student, ultimately by the end of 10th grade, does have to have a 3 or higher on the FAST ELA to be eligible to come into our program. Or that they have taken, this is probably opening a can of worms I don't want to open. But anyway, if a 10th grader has taken the ACT, CLT, or SAT, there are concordant scores that students can reach, that they meet a certain level of college readiness, that the schools can use that to meet that FAST ELA. But talk with your high school guidance counselors on that. But, ACT, CLT, SAT doesn't have to only be taken in 11th or 12th grade. It could be taken, there's students in middle school that have taken some of these college admissions and readiness tests. So, but ultimately we have to know a student, if they're 10th grade, by the end of 10th grade, to be eligible to come into our program in 11th grade, we have to have the past Algebra 1 EOC, have to have a past FAST, or that, again, that they've met college readiness in that particular area, and the school system has cleared them of meeting that requirement via an ACT, CLT, or SAT. What is the college placement level score? It depends on what test it is that you're taking. Each one of the tests has different scoring, so it's stuff you can search on Santa Fe's website. for what those college level scores are. You could probably Google it. That's something you could email our office, but it depends on which test. Um, Student in Cambridge eligible for dual enrollment? Yes, they're eligible for dual enrollment. Probably is going to have to be part-time dual enrollment if you're staying in the Cambridge program. Again, you still have to apply and you've still got to meet testing, do the testing and stuff, but students in Cambridge can come, but you're still going to have several classes at the high school, and so it would be a part-time situation. Can ninth grader apply for dual enrollment starting in 10th grade? Yes, and it is only part-time eligibility is what they would have. Students have to be in 11th grade to be eligible for full-time. Um, Classes similar in rigor to AP and ACE classes. Yes, although I will often hear from students that they worked harder in their AP and ACE classes. It's really that you probably have more weekly work that you're having to do in ACE and AP classes. You're in the classes 5 days a week, sitting there at your high school, and they're giving assignments, and you're doing outlines, you're turning this in, that in. With college classes only meeting a couple of days a week, they're expecting you to do that work because that's how you're learning and preparing, and to be successful in that curriculum, but they're not taking it in as grades and assignments. So just the overall work that a student may have to do kind of feels a little bit less because they're not having to turn these things in for grades. For most college classes, there's just not as many assignments going on. Where can the student receive the application for dual enrollment? Go to Santa Fe's website, sfcollege.edu. Type in high school dual enrollment. That takes you to our webpage, and application link is there. And you could do the application tonight. Our office, nobody's going to look at it until February 2nd. That's the day we actually start looking at applications. But applications there. But if you can't find it, don't know where to find it, again, I've got the screen up with our dual enrollment email address, our phone number. Just give us a call or reach out to Miss Tina. You could shoot her an email and she'll tell you how to get in contact with us. But is it possible to do part-time dual enrollment? Yes, lots of our students are part-time students. If student didn't pass AP, the Algebra 1 EOC, are they automatically ineligible for dual enrollment? If they are, I'm trying to think if they're ninth or 10th grade. You'd have to have all college level placement scores if you were ninth or 10th grade to be able to come in, or if you were 6th, 7th, 8th grade, but you would have to have all college level scores. It doesn't become a requirement to be eligible for our program until a student would be going into 11th grade, because it is by the end of the 10th grade year that the state kind of has that's sitting out there. Now, if a student hadn't passed the Algebra 1 EOC, it's kind of unlikely that they would be making a college level math placement score, and they would need a college level math placement score to be starting with us younger than 11th grade. And then again, just as we were talking about with the FAST ELA requirement, a student having a level 2, does that mean they can't come in? But you could take an ACT, CLT, or SAT and get a concordant score and get that satisfied. That concordant score in the math area on ACT, CLT, or SAT will satisfy that Algebra 1 as well. If students are not taking ACT, SAT, and so need to take a PERT, is there a fee? Nope. Santa Fe, our PERT test is free. And again, turn an application into our office, and our office staff will send out that permission slip to take the PERT. It's free of charge. The permission slip tells you the location for where you go and take it. It is available 7 days a week, so even on Saturdays and Sundays, which makes that very convenient for students and families. But it tells you the location, what hours it's available. You don't have to sign up for a time. You just show up when our testing center is open, and you get your test results immediately. And then you just turn them into our office as soon as you've done that testing. Part-time students able to get an AA if they do 11th and 12th grade dual enrollment. Highly, highly, highly unlikely. An AA degree really is a full-time 2-year degree. And so students, it's 60 college credit hours at minimum. Most college classes earn 3 credit hours. And so in my very advanced mathematics skills, which is a joke, 60 divided by 3 is 20 classes. If a student is going to be part-time with us, 11th and 12th grade, they're not going to get 20 classes done. But if a student has taken a whole bunch of AP classes, 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, and passed a whole bunch of AP exams, that student might be able to get an AA degree done just being part-time. But no, vast majority, if you're part-time with us, and that's fine, part-time works well for a lot of students. You're going to still already have accumulated a lot of college credit by the end of high school and have done it for free, but not going to have an AA degree done. A student applies, it gets accepted, but then determines course scheduling doesn't work. Then can they begin to take courses and subs? So yes, so just because you apply and you're accepted, if it just doesn't work for you, that's okay. You don't have to come, but you will have to reapply. Then it doesn't, we don't like put it on hold. You can come to us another semester. You'll have to go through the application process again. But yeah, if you apply and get accepted and then it's just not going to work for you, that's fine. That's fine. And you're always welcome to reapply. We don't hold it against you that you chose not to come, but you would have to reapply. Can repeat the email one more time, please. Yeah, I don't know. The email is up here on the screen, but it's dual enrollment, all one word, lowercase, at sfcollege.edu. But I think Miss, and you could contact Miss Tina. Santa Fe's website, just search high school dual enrollment. It'll bring you to this information, but dual enrollment at sfcollege.edu, all lowercase. Are there night class options? Yes, we do have night classes, and so students, they can take night classes. Can a student use dual enrollment to get an AA degree? Yes, they can. High school students, it's not a large percentage of them, but every year we usually have 60 to 70-ish students who will have completed an AA degree by the time they're finishing high school. Do we need to finish high school final exams before March 31st? No, we know the high school year is still in progress, so no. If you apply and get in, but you decide not to dual enroll, is that an issue? No. Child wants to take art history, would you be able to take an art history class? The college does teach art history classes. Have to be eligible for the program. You got to apply, do placement testing, get accepted, and the college art history classes require college level reading and college level English grammar skills. And so if all that's met, then yes, they could take art history classes. I think Miss Tina said there is a recording of this, so she'd be able to provide that for you. Is there online practice for the PERT test? Yes, you can. Santa Fe's website, Google PERT testing. There's a link for a sample test guide. Truthfully, I don't think our sample test guide on our website is very helpful. It's just a few sample questions. But if you Google just PERT placement, practice test, there's stuff online that you can access for free and do that. Applies and gets accepted, but then determines course scheduling doesn't work. Can they begin to take classes in a sub? Again, I think we'd had a previous question on this. You would have to reapply. If you apply and then you decide not to come, you're not in our program, and so then you're not one of our students, and so you would then have to reapply in our next application process. A 10th grader didn't pass the EOC in 9th grade. Can they not get accepted? If they have, 10th graders aren't the ones that, it's the 10th grade year with that fast testing, that that would need to be done. Algebra 1, depending on when you took it, you may have taken the Algebra 1 EOC. 10th rising 10th graders have to have all college level placement scores, reading, English grammar, and math. They could come in even if they didn't pass an EOC if they had those college level placement scores as a 10th grader. But then as they were moving into 11th grade, if at that point they still didn't have that FAST test or that Algebra 1 EOC passed, they would not be eligible to be with us in 11th grade. But are there afternoon high school classes? The very late, our high school class options, sometimes the scheduling varies year to year. We kind of determine what the needs seem to be. But this current year, and I think also for last year, the latest high school class we had started at 1 p.m. and runs till 2:15 p.m. But that's been the latest. But there have been times we've had like a 2 o'clock class that gets out about 3. But right now, the latest high school class starts at 1 and gets out at 2:15. What is the required score on the PERT? Specifically, college level reading is a 106. College level English grammar is a 103. And college level math is a 114. What are the SAT or ACT scores that are required to be admitted? Again, I had talked about a student doesn't have to, if they're in 11th or 12th grade, they don't have to have all college level scores to be able to come in. Have to have at least one college level score. And what those scores are on ACT and SAT, the college readiness can, the scoring is different for those. You can Google on Santa Fe's website and see those placement scores that are needed just in general. You can email us, but don't necessarily have to have all college level scores if you're 11th and 12th grade. If you're younger than 11th grade, that's kind of a special population. The state of Florida a number of years ago expanded that dual enrollment could be open to more than just 11th and 12th grade. Those students do have to meet a higher standard and do have to have all college level scores. Once accepted, will advisors help create? Yes, absolutely. You are working directly with your dual enrollment advisor. We are the ones that have to register you. A dual enrollment student cannot register themselves. And so, yes, we would work that schedule to get it created how you wanted to get it worked through. Earns credit through AP Pre-Calc. Does that supersede the PERT score? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Can a student start in summer of 2026? Only rising seniors currently would be eligible to start with us as a brand new student summer of 2026, and it would be for summer B, which is kind of our summer session that starts the second half of the summer. Vast majority of students start with us in the fall, but for rising seniors, they could look at starting with us summer B if they wanted to. And what are the retake policies regarding the PERT? Good question. For application purposes, for being coming into our program, our director allows one take of the PERT. If she feels like that maybe a student missed a college level placement score by 1 point, she looks at the high school transcript, sees advanced classes with high grades. Sometimes she will then say, I will approve to have a retake of this particular section to see. But typically it is once during our application process. That is not something you're going to be able to come back and let's take it again in 2 weeks and see how it goes. Now, a student could then be taking an ACT or SAT and give us those scores, and we can look at those. But PERT testing just once during that application process, unless our director reaches out individually and gives an exception to a particular student. Does 1 semester of foreign language equal 1 year of language for Bright Futures? College level foreign language. Yes, 1 semester of college level foreign language equates to a full year of high school foreign language. Bright Futures requires students have earned the equivalent of 2 years of the same high school foreign language. Can't be a year of Spanish and then a year of German. Has to be the same foreign language, and Bright Futures requires the equivalent of 2 years of high school foreign language 2 semesters of that college language does equate to 2 years of high school language for bright futures. If when we apply the student as a sophomore but fall 2026 would be a junior, what PERT requirements need to be met? It is the junior requirement, which at that point is that you have to have at least one college level score. If he was going to be a sophomore in fall of 2026, he would have to have all 3 areas, reading, English, and math, be college level. But as a upcoming that will be junior in fall 2026, has to have at least one college level score. Have we reached the end of
We
questions?
have reached the end
I
of
am
our
I am sorry,
questions.
Miss Tina. I know you have been here way late.
No, it's fine. I am so happy that, our parents joined, our students joined, and they were really able to, get some questions answered. And they definitely gave us a run for our
They did.
run for our money. So I am super excited.
I'm ready for a nap. But
Yes. So I don't know if you guys were asking for Santa Fe's email address or for the Parent Academy's email address. So I do know that Miss Vivian did have that up for you. So maybe you were looking for Parent Academy. So if you were, that email address is going to be parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu. So it's just our normal ending, but just Parent Academy, one word. And if you have questions for me, I'll definitely get those answered for you. And yes, we are recording. And so once we get the video uploaded, edited, and all of that good stuff, then it will be available on that Parent Academy web page, and you can access that straight through Alachua County Public Schools website and go to Parent Academy. And the videos will be there, or you can email me and I'll send it directly over to you. And so thank you again, Miss Vivian. I'll go
oh,
ahead and close us out because I don't see anything else popping up. So I feel like
I
we have you've done a great job of answering those questions. And
Thank
so
you. I mean, great. It was a great turnout. Love having lots of questions. But again, anybody, please feel free to reach out. Call the dual enrollment office, email the dual enrollment office. If search Santa Fe's website for high school dual enrollment, or just Google Santa Fe high school dual enrollment. But anyway, but you could always reach out to Miss Tina as well. She knows how to reach us as well. But we're happy to be able to answer more questions, or if you just have more, the application process, or confused on anything, contact our office. They will be able to walk you through that process. But we're looking forward to the fall 2026 classes applications starting to come in here in just a few more weeks. So,
all
okay.
right. Well, I would just like to thank everyone again for joining us on tonight's Zoom. I appreciate your participation. And so each week that school is in, you're welcome to join me back here every Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock. And you will receive more informative presentations just like this one. Again, I am Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Alachua County Public Schools. Next week, we will actually have Santa Fe coming back. And so that's going to be on the admission side. And so Mr. Robert will be here talking to us about all things
About
Santa Fe.
all
Um,
things with college admissions.
Yes. And so if you are interested in just finding out information about that, please join me again. But just keep your eyes open for anything that comes out with Parent Academy. If there is a subject, or if there is a topic that you would like me to host or find someone to host to bring some information and resources, please feel free to let me know what those are, because I really want to be intentional about the webinars that I am providing for my parents and students. And so just keep that in mind. And so I just want to thank everyone again for joining us, and have a wonderful night. Miss Vivian, you are always welcome to come back. I will keep you posted if I need you to come back, or if you want to come back, the door is always open.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Tina. You do a great job with everything. Such a great
Thank
service
you.
to parents and students in our community. But
Thank
thank you,
you.
thank you for thinking about it.
Yes. You all have a wonderful night.
All right. Good night.
Bye.